Hello and welcome. The Holler Podcast, episode 12 of season 2. As you can see, we are joined with a total of 4 people on screen today. We're going back somewhat to our previous format that we used last season, and it took us a little bit, but thanks to Carl and Richard of reminding me to include more guests. And I know we had Adam on last week to fill in Richard, but we've got him on again because he had a special occasion this past week. But my name is Stephen Borbell, driver of the number 2 Ford Mustang for Next Level Motorsports, and our guest tonight is Adam Buzzio. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. And Carl, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to the weekend, but right now I'm doing all right.
Awesome. And Richard, it's good to have you back.
It's good to be back. Last week was really annoying for a work day, so it's good to be back. Glad to be with you guys, and I too am ready for this weekend as I'm going to Daytona.
Well, we are all jealous because I want to be there as well, but can't make that. I think it's a 10-hour drive for me, is what I found
Is it
out.
really?
Yeah, it's not worth it. But no, this is the Holler Podcast. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Obviously, Butt Kicker, the leader in haptics, Sundance Pizza, Idealease, and Descendants Trucks. So I guess we can get right into it. Last week, we raced at Chicagoland for the Idealease 250. And someone got their first win of the season.
Oh, good job.
Spoiler alert. It was me.
Congratulations,
You did
Adam, on your win. Uh, Tell us how it went. Tell us how your race went. Did you expect to have a chance to win it going into it? Did it just work out in your favor and execute the right times? What?
I really like Chicagoland. I have not, as Steven brought up last week, I actually think I have not had good luck there for whatever reason. But I like the track, and I had speed in the practice race. So I went in feeling good. I didn't think I had anything for Mason on speed, or Isaiah for that matter. Um, we ran up front all night. Had a little bit of a incident there at the I believe it was at the end of stage one. Got caught up in a wreck. So we spent stage two behind the 8 ball for sure. I got all my optional damage fixed. But at some point, I think it was between stage two and three, we made our pit stops, and my crew chief came over and said we can't fix all the damage, and I had 0 seconds of optional. And the car drove terrible all of stage two. I struggled just to hold track position. It just pushed really, really hard at the corner exit, and I lost speed down the back as well. So I didn't take my fast repair there, but I think it was that first yellow in stage three that came out. I decided to risk it and take the fast repair. And between that and the decision to short pit, which I did there when we had to make our green flag pit stops, I think I was the first car on pit road. Decided to short pit. I knew I wasn't going to beat Mason or Isaiah on speed. I was up there running with those two and Carl. Carl was right behind me. And I noticed there was a gap between him and Evan, so I kind of got out of line, let Carl go around me so I could get a really good pit entry. Decided to take 2 tires and a splash of gas, and that was the call. I got out ahead far enough that I was able to stay ahead of Mason, and I made up enough time on Richard and a couple of the other guys who saved fuel. And it ended up working out for us. It was a fun race overall. We put on a good show.
Yeah, I would agree. And you brought up that you were holding off Mason there at the end, and he finished just over a second behind you. And I do know he was closing really, really quick. Good thing the race ended when it did. If he had maybe another 2 laps, I think he would have caught you. Just with how fast he was closing in. Did he end up taking 4 tires there? Is that what the difference was?
No, he took
Two.
2.
He took two as
He
well.
did.
Okay.
He took 2, but I think you're right. So he made up a ton of time. Like he was just absolutely pushing to the absolute limit, and I just wasn't. I was not pushing. Once I got past Richard and the guys who were saving, I I tried to run you down for a little bit, Steven, because you were still on track trying to save fuel. But it got to a point where I think it was 3 or 4 seconds, and I just decided at that point, like if he's not going to run out, I'm not going to catch him. There was just too much time, and the tire equalization had kind of taken effect already because I did pit so early. And Mason pitted quite a bit later than me. I think he stayed out on track for, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 laps longer than
So
I
that's
did.
where
So
the
his
time
tire,
difference.
that's because when I went out there, I felt like a superhero. Those first 4 or 5 laps, I blew past Mason and Isaiah. I made up a ton of time, but the tires equal out after a while. So with him being on those fresher tires, I think like I said, I wasn't pushing, so I don't know exactly how much more I could have got out of the car if I was forced to race Mason. But he was obviously fast. If he didn't make a couple mistakes on those last 2 laps, he still might have got to me. But I know he knocked the wall down once or twice. I think just probably trying to get too much out of it.
Yeah, he did. He set the fastest lap of the race with 10 laps to go, which was 2 to 3 tenths faster than a majority of the field's fastest lap for the whole race. So he was burning it down, trying to catch you, and he was closing fast. Another driver I want to talk about, Isaiah Sutherland, led the most laps, was stupid fast all race. And I believe he had a mishap on pit road.
He just took fuel. He didn't take any tires.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was his
Yeah,
mishap. He
ma-
just didn't take tires.
Made a bad pit call.
Yeah, and that it's unfortunate for him to get finished in 7th when arguably he had the fastest car or the fastest race. 109 laps led out of 175. It's pretty dominating, and not to get a top 5 at least out of that's got to be a little disappointing. I'll just run through the top 10 real quick. Adam Buzzio finished first, Mason Houseman second, Evan Patinko, a great run. Top 3 for Evan. Good to see him. I know he's fighting for that bubble spot in 10th, so that's a good finish for him. Jared Hughes coming home 4th after struggling the majority of the race. Carl Pooley yourself 5th. Dakota Bleh, great finish, coming home 6th. Like I said, Isaiah Sutherland finished 7th after qualifying on the pole. Chad Bean with the top 10, finishing 8th. Brendan Maddox 9th, and Richard Wolsifer 10th. Carl, take us through your race. 5th place. Are you satisfied with that?
Steven, we were talking before the podcast, and I honestly kind of feel like Kyle Busch in the fact that I've never been so disappointed in a good finish. I've never been so disappointed in myself with the 5th place finish. After everything in the 3rd stage, I got caught up in some stuff. Had to use my fast repair early. Only 2 stage points. That came at the end of stage 2. And there was a big incident there, and that was frustrating enough. But coming back through that, I feel like 5th isn't showing the speed I had. I think I had a shot at a podium there, maybe edging out Evan there for 3rd spot. Incidents during green flag pit stops set me back, and I just could not recover as much after that. I got lucky. Isaiah, he didn't take tires. Richard, yourself, ran out of fuel halfway down the backstretch. That was another spot. Steven, you pit, I think, with 3 laps to go, so that was the spot. And I just edged out Dakota by 0.02 of a second at the finish line. So I feel like, yes, 5th is a good finish, but I had a lot of luck getting there. So if I would have been able to perform, I think that podium would have been mine.
That's a fair point. I can't believe you took away Dakota's top 5.
You monster.
I was focused. Honestly, I was driving angry for 3/4 of that race. I was driving aggressive. I was making moves that I would have normally made. Richard and I were talking. I guess the tiebreaker would have probably been for the brawl would have been a head-to-head race at Charlotte, and I knew like if I could
Auto
finish.
Club.
Or yeah, I'm sorry. You said Charlotte though. You did say
I might have
Charlotte.
said California.
Oh, you said Charlotte. I know you said Charlotte. But anyway, I would have been behind it because it would have been fun. Adam, you and I go head to head for the brawl there. I think that would have been fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it would have been cool. I mean, I'm not mad that I won, but
I bet not.
yeah, no, it would have been interesting for sure.
And Richard, bringing it home in 10th this week, you had a great strategy Monday night to save for, I believe it was 54 laps in that last stage of the practice race. In the race, Tuesday, we had a 56 green flag lap to the end was the stint. and tried to make it last. And yeah, you did make it last. You at least finished. Take us through your race in that last run.
Well, I mean, Monday, I mean, I saw that we only had like you said, like a 55 or 54 lap, final part of the race. So I was like, it's a practice race. Let's just try something that's going to catch people off guard. So that's what I did Monday. And then going into Tuesday, I was like, there's no way that's going to work again because it's 80 laps or whatever it was in that final stage. I was like, it's not going to work again. So we're just going to try to run our race and figure it out. And the problem I was having is I like Chicagoland. It's a fun track, but it felt weird this time around for me. I just couldn't get the car to set like I wanted it to. And when I finally figured it out, it was way too late in the race for me to like be comfortable with myself doing it every single lap. So when that final caution came out and I was looking at the laps, I was like, 57 laps. We're going to try it because I don't have speed. So, but I think when people caught on that that's what we were doing, I don't know if that was, it wasn't Adam's strategy call because of that. He was doing it for a different strategy. But I think a lot of people realized what we were doing and the 4 tires were not going to do what they needed to do. So the 2 tire stops by everybody is what kind of ruined that strategy. But so yeah, I mean, I wasn't as fast as I was hoping to be at Chicagoland, and I even had an okay amount of practice for it. But yeah, no, I definitely ran out coming. I think it was like halfway down the backstretch. I ran out of fuel, and it just sputtered all the way to the front stretch, and where I finally finished. So.
I mean, kudos to you and Dakota for stretching it that far to begin with.
Yeah, it's
it was
super impressive.
It was touch and go there for a little bit because I was like watching my fuel indicator, and I was like, yeah, I'm like 0.2 to the good, and then like 2 laps later it's like, oh no, I'm 0.1 to the negative, and I'm just like 2 laps later I'm like, okay, I'm 0.05 to the good. Like it was up and down all 56 laps, and it was just kind of like, we might make it.
And I want to say like 5 or so laps into the run, very early into that last run, I was watching you and Dakota, and I saw y'all tail off so far, and I'm like, I called it out immediately. I said, Richard's trying to get to the end again. Like, he's doing this again. Like, I don't think he's going to be able to make it to work. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to try to outdo Richard. I ran, like, the first 10 laps of that stint as hard as I could. Realized I wasn't really getting up through the field. So I'm like, I'll save. I can outsave him. And got to the point where I was basically half a lap to the good. And then it just never got better. And so I just kept running as hard and as long as I could just to scare some people. And then saw Adam was behind me, so I decided to call it. Not gonna scare him any longer, making him think I can get to the end.
This dude was silent in our team chat, mind you.
Probably for 40 laps.
Not saying a word, and I'm just back there like, what's he doing? You know what I mean? I figured him not talking was a good sign for him, not for me. He finally came over the radio. I think it was as he was going into 3. He's like, I'll save you the suspense. I got a pit. And I think it was, did you pick at coming to 2 to go?
I think so.
I think so too. I think we were on 3 to go when you went in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a crazy race, man. Like Richard and Carl just mentioned, the pit stops and the strategy this week were, to my memory, I think a bigger part of the race than it has been this season.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some really good strategy races going, and then yellow comes out or something happens. My pit call, that it won me the race at the end of the day, but it also could have lost me the race if a yellow came out. I would have been pretty much a sit and duck. So, Steven, how was your race? Take us through your race.
Shoot, dude, I keep saying every week that it's gonna get better. This season's just been a struggle fest. I'm pretty sure I'm still leading the league in total incidents, whether or not they're my fault or just being involved in them. I'm sure Rev can give us that number, but no, I went into it with a lot of confidence Tuesday night, because on Monday night I was quick, single car practice, everything like that. Got into the Tuesday night session, I was pretty quick in practice. I think I qualified 11th, and I was just shocked, and I didn't know what to think going in. The race goes on a little bit, and I had some speed. I was confident that I was going to make my way up there, and I was involved in that incident that you were involved in at the end of stage one, and we both got a bit of damage from it. So behind the 8 ball to start. Finally got that all fixed up, and then was on a slightly different tire strategy than everyone else in stage 3 at the beginning, or at the end of stage 2 and then the beginning of stage 3. I don't remember what happened first, but then I think Mason got into somebody, Jason Bottoms maybe, and checked up, and I got right into the back of Mason and spun myself out on the front stretch. And then soon after that, or before that, I was 3 wide, coming through the field really quick, and 3 wide on the bottom, and the guy on my outside got tapped by the person on his outside and sent me through the grass and put me into the back of the field. And
That's the wreck. I was up on the high line, wasn't it? No,
I don't think so.
No, you were. It happened right behind me, I think, because I saw you go.
Yeah, I think that was when I had a slight tire advantage on everyone, and I was just caught back up to that front pack where I was going to start blowing by everyone and getting up to the lead. And then that happened, which sent me back to the tail end of the pack again for that last 57 or so laps. Man, it was so hard to pass in traffic. If you're in the back of that pack, you have to really methodically work your way through instead of burning up your tires while trying to pass somebody. And I think that's really what led to my decision to try to even save fuel at the end. It was too late of a call after I had run 10 laps hard as I could. As you saw, Richard barely made it to the end of saving the whole run. I thought I could get a little bit better because the numbers were promising on the fuel estimator at first. When I first started saving, it looked so good. And I'm like, oh, I can do this, no problem. And then it just plateaued and never got any better. But yeah, just another disappointing race, and I'm not ready for the chase to start at this rate.
Well, neither am I, Steven, because I'm kind of feeling the same thing. It's been a couple blows to the confidence level and just being able to survive and get through the race. But I feel like, Adam, you hit on it earlier. The strategy was there, but at the same time, there was also a lot of really good racing. We were 3 wide, 4 wide, 2 rows deep. I mean, Pit Stop TV did a great job covering all the action that was to be on Chicagoland Speedway. So I think overall, I think the season we may have possibly had our most complete race. There was strategy involved. There was a lot of good racing, a lot of good battles. I mean, even Isaiah and Mason, they were going door to door. Even they had an incident early on, but they still raced towards the end. So it was, I think we had a really, really great showcase of what we can see going into the chase as well.
I think it's our best race as a league. Maybe I was going to say for this season, but I think overall as a league, I can't think of a race that kind of had everything like this one did. It had really good racing. Like Steven mentioned, it was hard to pass.
But it was good battling.
More so in the beginning of the stages, because when everyone's on fresh tires, everyone's running the same speed, basically, at Chicagoland, because there's really only one way to run it as fast as you can. So everybody's kind of running a similar pace, and unless there's a big run or someone makes a little bit of a mistake, it's hard to pass. But you have those battles. You have those, and there's so many lanes to run. I mean, and they all work. The bottom lane works at Chicagoland. The middle lane works. It's a little tough through 1 and 2 there, but if you can get low enough, the middle lane works, and you can rip the top too. I ran high a couple times to try to get some track position, and it worked out pretty well for me. And then you have the we had a couple really big exciting wrecks, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
And then the strategy with the green flag racing at the I think it was just a perfect race.
I think the stage finishes also were pretty wild, especially the end of stage 2, and we were
Stage 2
4
was
wide
nutty.
going across the line. That was insane.
Yeah, that was fun to do stages for.
Sure.
4 wide and then 3 wide right behind it. I mean, you
Yeah,
had 7
was-
cars under a blanket.
It was 7 cars that were separated by .002, I think, is what it ended up being, which is crazy. But
I mean, that you see that at Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, not at Chicagoland Speedway. Those are crazy numbers, and I was in the middle of that, and I know I was really starving for points because I didn't get any stage points in the first stage. I qualified really bad, and so I was really focused on trying to get those stage points. But I don't know if it was actually worth it because the chaos that ensued after the caution had fallen definitely put me back there. So it's uh, those stage points mean so much. Evan Patinko running as hard as he could to get to the cut line. Jimmy Plord unfortunately didn't have a good race, but man, it just goes to show how important those points are at the end of the stages.
They are very crucial and detrimental at the same time. Jamie, like you said, had a not great showing. He had some great races coming into this, but I think he had some bad luck. Got involved in an incident after he had already taken his fast repair, and yeah, it was tough race for him to have like that. But he's still got a little bit of gap that we'll get into. One more stat I just wanted to call out from this race of y'all saying maybe it's our most complete race. It had 10 different leaders, 10 drivers led a lap, 13 lead changes. I think 10 leaders is our record.
That's a lot
for league race. Yeah, bunch of guys all the way from you, Adam, who won, all the way down to 17th place. Jason Bottoms led laps. Like there's guys sprinkled in there. Yes,
I only
strategy.
led 3.
You led 4 laps.
The last 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, hey, like most of them are 3 laps, 4 laps, 3 laps, 5 laps, 6 laps, 9 laps. But like, maybe it's part of that strategy element. But it just shows a little bit of parity in there. And a big shout out to the new guys that we've had these past couple of weeks of Eric Jensen, Jason Bottoms, and also Isaiah Sutherland. They've come in, they've gelled right away. I don't think anyone's had a big problem with them in any regard. Nope. They're all fast in their own right, and they've added an additional layer of skill and competition. So that's been really good to see too.
And going with the whole 10 different leaders in that race, like that just goes to show that everybody in this league is wanting to get better. Like we're already all pretty close in skill as it is, but like everybody in this league is doing putting the practice in, getting the time in, getting the seat time in. And everyone's wanting to get better. And you can even see it in the points. Like, the points are very close in a lot of places. I mean, so used to Gavin, Mason is on the top of the mountain, basically, like kind of on an island all by himself. And I think, Adam, you're pretty much on an island also. I don't know how close third is. I haven't looked at the points, to be honest.
He's also on an island.
Yeah, but I mean, I think like 4th through 9th is super close, and then you have 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th or something that are even closer. So, I mean, the points themselves speak numbers of how close this league has become when it comes to skill between everybody.
Yeah, and we'll touch on those points shortly because that battle for 10th and 11th got very, very close this past week. And like you said, from 4th to 9th, it's also too close to call at this point. Any other shout outs or points you want to touch on from the race before we get to the meatball?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go ahead and, Adam not only won the race, but if y'all remember, it was the bonus brawl also. It was the finale to the bonus brawl. And honestly, mathematically, we had a potential chance of a 3-way tie to finish that race. I didn't think that was going to happen, so I didn't think of a good way to do a tiebreaker. But yes, like Carl was saying, I did mean Auto Club, Carl, not Charlotte. So that's my mistake if that's what I said. But we were going to have a sudden death, basically, like if it was, a tiebreaker was going to be Auto Club. We ended up not having that. Adam not only won the race, but Adam is $160 richer as he takes home the inaugural BRB bonus brawl in-season championship. Congratulations, Adam.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was super exciting. I didn't know. The guys in the broadcast booth during my interview said, "Oh, we think that you won the bonus brawl too." And I started thinking about it, and I knew it was me, Jared, and Carl were all whatever within a point. So I didn't know where everybody had finished and how that kind of was going to shake out. So I was super excited. I don't typically come out on top on those kind of things. And I really wasn't even thinking about it during the race. I don't think it occurred to me once to even worry about that. But it was super. I think it was a great idea you guys had, or Richard or whoever. I think it was mainly Richard who kind of brainchild that. I think it gives everybody something else to race for. I think it gives the broadcast team something else to follow. So super excited to get it, and it was cool to get the win at an Idealease sponsored race. Obviously, Idealease and Ascendance Trucks are both more or less subsidiaries of me. So it was cool to get them. Cool to get in victory lane with Idealease on the car and at an Idealease race. It was a really special day for me, honestly. That was a long time coming. So
not only was it was the trifecta for you, also it was an ideal
it was a
race
quadfecta.
Quadfecta.
Race.
It was
Yeah,
the Idealease race, the Idealease sponsor on your car, the Kyle Larson paint scheme, the PRB bonus brawl, and your first. So that's 5. That's the quint.
I was too, man. After I finally finished points and I had talked to a couple guys or whatever, I kind of sat there for a minute. I was like, well, all downhill from here.
You've peaked.
Yeah,
you've peaked this season already. There it is.
It was funny after the race. I was actually ready to go to bed. I was kind of tired Tuesday night as I am tonight. But I was getting pictures and everything. I was editing them, getting ready to edit them and everything. Carl's like, hey, you need to get the points of the BRB brawl. I was like, why? He goes, because the broadcast is waiting for them. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You mean they're actually waiting for that? So I was like, crap, I've got to do work and I don't want to.
It's the worst, man. I know how you feel, because every time I have to sit there and do the stages right after the race, I'm like, it takes me 15 minutes longer than it would if my brain wasn't fried. But
and especially in a race where you don't win, it's like, oh, I have to stay up even longer. And then when you win, it's like, all right, I'll go through it real quick. I got time.
One thing I want to mention before I forget, last week we talked about, drivers to watch for this week and things like that. And I had mentioned, Isaiah, we had only seen on dirt and how fast he was. He, I think, is going to give Mason a run towards the end of this season. Now, Isaiah won't be eligible for the chase, but that does not mean that it's not going to cause Mason problems during the chase. Mason is fast. But I think Mason gets a little heated and a little frustrated pretty quickly sometimes, and that can lead to mistakes. So just wanted to give all the new guys a shout out, really. But it's great to have a couple of new guys with varying skill sets, and can't wait to see how it plays out for the rest of the season.
You said it perfectly. And going back to Tuesday, I don't think I've heard Adam that excited or that happy. He had a fresh perspective on life after that win. You could just see the smile, without seeing him, you could just sense the smile and how happy he was after he won the race to finally get that monkey off your back kind of situation. So again,
it's funny, man, because we had the joke for the last whatever season, since however long we've been racing together, the Forever Third campaign was going on for quite a while. And then I got a little bit better, so then it was forever. I'll tell you what, man, second place is the worst place to finish. I'd almost rather finish 10th or 15th or wherever. Obviously not for points. That's not good. But when you're that close, and unfortunately I'm a little older than a lot of the guys in the league. I can't dedicate a lot of time to practice and to just grind. So to know you're kind of, I don't want to say plateaued skill wise, but you keep finishing second and you kind of start to get to the point where you're like, I guess I gotta kind of resign myself to that. But that just goes to show, I tell guys in the league when they're frustrated all the time, you never know what's going to happen. You never know how a race is going to go or fall into your lap. So it was a relief to get a win. You know what I mean? And like I said, we had all the other factors going on. So I was very, very light after the race. So
you're very light. And now we get into the heavy part of the podcast, our meatballs of the week. Who wants to go first? I'm looking. Richard, go first.
I love him. He's a great guy. Chad, I got to give it to you, man. Like, that was a hard right hook, and we were all the way down the track.
I forgot about that.
This is
Yeah.
a personal meatball.
That was yes. It's definitely a personal.
This is a
meatball
personal
of the
ball.
week. It was like if we were up by the wall and he bounced off the wall and got me, it's like okay, I see that. But like we were all the way down the track, and I'm like thinking I'm clear. I'm like, we're just driving, and all of a sudden like halfway down the front stretch, and I'm like, and that's the wall. Like, it definitely was wild. Like I said, I don't know what was going on his end to cause that, but yeah, sorry, Butta. I gotta give you the meatball of the week from my end. That's where my meatball's going.
Yeah, I remember we were talking in our call about that when that happened. Of just like, it looked so vicious out of nowhere. I was like all the way in the back of the pack and see this puff of smoke, and you're in the wall as hard as can be, flipping and going through the air. Like, oh man, that was brutal.
Yeah, I had to tow.
Yeah, I believe it.
believe that.
Which
yeah.
put me 2 laps down.
I drove through the infield to get around it, and I said the same thing like Steven just said. I was like, that was violent. Like, it hooked so hard.
It did.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
it was
and if you
just-
watched Pit Stop TV's coverage of that, they even put Richard's in-car cam, the cockpit cam right
They
there,
did.
and you just saw it. Dude, he's going along. Next thing you know, he's headed to the wall, and there was nothing he could do.
I was confused. Like, what just happened? Like, why did I just get right hooked? Like,
And
Those are
Carl,
the worst.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Carl, how mad was Richard in that moment? Was he mad? Like, what was his reaction?
His first reaction was seriously 100% initial confusion. It was more like, what just happened? How did that happen? I don't know what's going on. Like, and then he's like, I have to tow. Like, the whole thing was, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And I have to tow, all questioning, question marks, and just 100% confusion until he realized, like, wait a minute. I just got wrecked. I have to tow. What? Why?
So, did you even know who wrecked you at first, Richard?
not at first. No, I don't think I did.
Jeez.
He's like, no, that. I think that added to the confusion. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened. And then while he's sitting and getting towed, he looks back, he's like, oh, that was Chad. Why did Chad wreck me? What happened there?
It sounds like you were
So,
concussed
yeah.
from the hit.
It's very possible.
Definitely had to go to the infield care center for sure.
But NASCAR let me get back in my car. I was good to go.
Good. Carl, who's your meatball of the week?
Oh man, my meatball of the week goes to mi amigo Patrick Hernandez, the number 91, and it's only because of one incident in particular. Now, I understand his frustration at. We did have an incident coming out of 4 kind of earlier on in the race, and I can understand. I think it was more of a racing incident, but I understand, so I'm not going to let that go. But this meatball is for spinning out on pit road during the green flag, and unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of good coverage of that. But Adam, you pit early. You short pit in the 3rd stage, and I was thinking in my mind when I passed you, I was like, the only reason Adam would pass is because he's getting ready. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, I gotta watch him. So you pit. I'm like, okay, Adam's going down. I gotta pit next. And obviously, Patrick thought the same thing. I'm going down, I'm hitting my mark, and I see this cloud of smoke in front of me on pit road, and I see it's Patrick. He's spinning on the pit road. I'm like, oh, geez, this isn't going to be good. So I bump my brakes just a little harder because I don't want to wreck into him, and that spins me out. And so that's what causes that whole incident to go down. And then we're coming out, and Patrick gets out before me, then spins out on pit exit, and I'm getting on my brakes because he's also in the grass. He starts to move before I'm around him, so I'm on the brakes trying to avoid him. Like, dude, you can't do that. You have to just wait. So here I am losing like 7 to 11 seconds to Adam on roughly the same strategy because of Patrick. So I'm definitely gonna give that to Patrick because I think I've harped on it a couple episodes already this season. You gotta practice pit entry. You never know. You should always practice a hot pit entry.
especially
was
mile and a halves
funny.
and super speedways. Sorry.
It was funny on the. No, you're good. It was funny on the broadcast. Like they're showing Adam's car in the pit and talking about him short pit.
Yeah.
And in the background, you see 2 cars sliding
Just-
into the pit. Like, it's like, what the heck?
That's exactly what happened too. They were like, is the number 5 taking 2 tires or 4 tires? Oh, there's a problem in pit. Problem in
Problem
pit
in entry. Like 2 cars just sliding in. Like
Go figure. It's carpooler again.
Yeah, exactly.
Tokyo drifting into the pit lane.
To Carlos'
Exactly.
point, that pit entry practice, even if you just do it once, is super important because one of the reasons I think it works so well for me is because I strategically positioned myself to get a really good pit entry. That was the whole reason I let Carl pass, because of that gap, because I was able to come from the high side and aim straight at the pits and kind of slow down all at once, as opposed to if you're stuck on the bottom, you kind of have to slow down at center, maybe almost to 4. Pit entry's huge. I didn't realize you guys tangled coming out of the pits too. I didn't know that happened at all.
Well, and it's not that we tangled. Is when he started spinning, I wanted to slow up more, but I was at that spot where I had one tire on the apron. I was kind of at that juncture, and so
Yeah,
I bumped it
transition.
that transition. I bumped it just enough so I wouldn't get into him, that I actually spun myself out. I didn't take any damage, but I went from having 2 tires to 4 tires because I didn't want to go out on damaged tires.
Yeah,
But I do think that with the 4 tires, as hard as I was pushing, I think I could have passed Evan, though. I really do.
Well, that's going to live in your nightmares for a while.
It is. It really is.
Adam, did you have any meatballs or run-ins with anyone this week?
I don't have any personal meatballs to hand out. If I had to pick somebody to give it to, I guess it would probably be Isaiah for the pit call at the end of the race. I think if he would have put on 2, he would have had just as much of a shot, if not more of a shot. Because I think Mason even said it in his interview. Isaiah was faster on short runs. And with the speed that Mason was able to catch me because of the tire differential, I think if he takes 2 tires there, if he's not racing me for the win, he's at least racing Mason for second. So if I had to give someone a meatball, I guess it would just be that. I didn't have any. I'm trying to think. I didn't have any like run-ins with anybody. I was involved in that wreck at the end of the stage 1, but I can't quite recall. I don't think that was like really an egregious move on anybody. I think that was a 3-wide deal that went wrong, and I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was just on the bottom of it. So, yeah, I think that would be my meatball if I had to give one.
That's fair. You didn't give a meatball necessarily for someone being 3 wide, but I'm going to. And again, it's not like it was necessarily fully all his fault, but the new guy, Jason Bottoms, loved racing with him. Him and I had some great battles the whole race, and had a really good time. It was just one of those non-egregious situations. It was just unfortunate he was middle 3 wide, and he gave me plenty of room on the bottom, but he didn't give himself enough room to go up. Got up into, I believe, Patrick, got slammed back down into me, and I think it ended his race too at the same time. So while it didn't fully end my race, it ended his race, and it ended my shot at a good finish kind of deal. Again, not egregious, but just meatball of the week. But yeah.
And that's another name that we've had yet to mention. Jason Bottoms, he was there for Eldora as well. And he may not have the speed as Isaiah, but I think he's more
he's
so
close.
far the short run guy. He has a good short run speed. He does have that speed early on. I think once he finds out how to save some of those tires, then he's to be a huge contender. But Jason Bottoms, I have Steven mentioned he enjoys racing. I race with him through Eldora, through Chicagoland, and it's been fun to race against him. It's I think Chicagoland was fun because we were doing a couple of crossovers for about 3 or 4 laps, so that was fun to race against that. So again, another one of those new names to the BRB Cup Series that is fun and making a splash already.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. So Eric Jensen, Jason Bottoms, Isaiah Sutherland, those are our new guys that were in the race on Tuesday, and I had good battles with not so much Isaiah, he was just kind of ahead of me, but the other two, Eric and Jason, both I had really good battles with. I think at one point I said something to one of them because we had such a good multi-lap fight. We said it once, but I'm just super excited they're here. You know what I mean? I'm grateful that anybody wants to come be a part of this. So glad the guys that are joining are good.
And they've even mentioned, you know, this just how chill everyone is in this league. Like they've even in the chat, they've even said that that this is probably one of their most favorite leagues. They've only been here like 1 or 2 races, so just to hear that on their first experience with our league is just fantastic to hear. That just means we've been able to get some fantastic drivers, just some fantastic people and personalities that just helps build just great racing all around, along with camaraderie. So it's awesome to hear and awesome to see it grow.
Couldn't agree more. And with that, we'll end our recap of last week's Idealease 250 at Chicagoland, and we'll move on to our standing situation. So, like we were saying earlier, why do I have this so small for myself?
I don't know, but I almost stood up just because we were in a standing situation.
And pardon me, I have the wrong...
Yeesh.
I love the eye roll and head roll from Adam.
Oh, goodness.
Jeez, oh,
I had the
man.
wrong standings up.
Well, I got you back here, Steven.
Thank
So,
you.
first off, we're going to lead off with Mason Houseman. Had a great run last week at Chicago. Adam Buzzio, with your win, put you into second. You only closed that gap by like 3 points or 5 points. You're only
Stage points,
39
man.
points. Yeah, dude, again, those stage points are huge. 39 points behind him. Johnny Wood Jr. behind you at 38 points. Stephen Borbell coming in fourth at 48 behind Johnny Wood Jr. Then myself at 2 behind. Richard, you're 8 behind. Jared, 8 behind you. He moved up a spot with his performance in Chicago. And Dustin Stallings, another point. I mean, look at that. 10, 18, 19 points separating 5th from 8th. Fourth from 8th. That's nuts. Dustin Stallings there, 1. You know, and then Brendan Maddox, Jimmy Plord running out the top 10. Evan Patinko making a move, only 7 points behind that Chase Cut line. The standings are close anywhere you look at it.
Thank you, Carl, for picking up where I dropped the
Failed
ball.
miserably.
Man, if I spent the time today, I'm like, I've got an hour or two, like I can get everything set up for tonight, and it's going to be so perfect. And I guess I labeled something wrong because I had the old standings in its place, but whatever. Thank you, Carl, for stepping up there.
Ball there.
Drop the ball there
problem.
for sure.
I've had a little bit of practice. It's okay.
Oh, Jared Hughes has a win.
Richard, you can shut your mouth. You know?
So much for perfect.
I'm sorry, I don't get paid enough to be perfect. Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy. The only driver within the top 7 that doesn't have a win is myself. Dustin Stallings, Brendan Maddox, Jamie Plord don't have wins, but they're also 8, 9, and 10. So I don't know how to feel about this. I really and I have the least amount of bonus points against all y'all. I only have 89. Richard, you have 107. Jared has 90. Dustin has 94. Like, it doesn't make sense why I'm in the spot I'm in.
Carl, I was in the same boat as you literally on Monday night, so I understand. I was in second with no wins, so.
It's the consistency. Honestly, it pays off more than anything. Even if you're not getting those stage points, you're getting those good finishes each week.
Mm-hmm.
And when people like me finish outside the top 10 for back-to-back weeks, it's a killer. And you're just being consistent. Both of y'all, really. Richard, not so much. But, no, that battle for 10th.
I haven't been consistent.
No, me and you both. We're in the same boat, and Carl and Adam are in the same boat over there. Our boat's more fun, but theirs is a little bit more successful currently.
I don't know about that.
Our boat's not sinking, Carl. So
Well, I'm getting
I don't
water
know.
in here. That's what's
We're not
going
sinking
on.
yet.
Why do you think Carl has a towel?
Exactly. I'm prepared. All right. What is that? Rule 42? Always carry a towel.
something like that.
Something like that.
Hitchhiker's Guide to
No,
the Galaxy.
looking at the points, I
love
mean,
it.
it is.
Exactly.
I guess-
See, I knew someone would understand.
Don't
I guess
panic.
I guess I didn't really look at the points that closely after I posted them. I mean, there's a lot going on there, man.
I mean, Jamie Plord, Evan Patinko, and Dakota Bly, like that is a super close
Yeah,
points battle. For the
that's going
final
to be very
spot.
exciting.
I felt bad for Jamie. He was really quick this week. He just unfortunately the race got derailed for him. So
An interesting note in all this, not to put anyone else down, but Jamie has only 9 starts compared to 11 and 10 for. I know we drop a race, but with that drop, Jamie still has 1 less start than Evan this season. And I think that's a testament to Jamie's strength this season. He's been very consistent in the races he has run. He did have this unfortunate race, but to see himself still on that bubble line, and he holds his destiny. As long as he doesn't make another slip up.
Hey Steven, I gotta be on Team Jared for a minute, but you gotta put a win sticker there next to Jared's name.
I thought we already went over this. So you
That'll
see,
be 8 different winners
So-
for the season, not 7
Yeah.
like Facebook
no,
so said.
it is 7. My number
Yeah,
is
that's
correct.
4, 6, 7. It just he didn't put the graphic next to Jared's name.
No, it's 7 because so that's 6 showing right now. Dustin does not have a win. Jared
Oh,
does,
you're
but
right.
Gavin has a win, and Gavin is not on that top
Oh.
20. So I promise there is a method to my madness, and I understand every mistake that I make in its entirety. So don't worry.
I was looking at it. I was like, I was trying to rack my brain. I was like, I don't remember Dustin getting a win.
Yeah, no.
But
Yeah. You see, when I'm going through this, it is a very manual process, and I don't double check myself. I'm just like, go.
it's hard to double check. I do the same thing when I do stages and stuff, and somebody goes, "Well, actually," and I'm like, "Well, actually, I'm tired."
Yeah, exactly. Like most of the time, I will say not this week, but most of the time I'm doing this at 12 o'clock, 1 in the morning.
Right.
But yeah, things happen. It's okay. Dustin knows he doesn't have a win yet this season. Jared knows he has a win so far this season.
Well, we're trying to invite new viewers and new listeners, so we got to make sure everything's accurate and we don't confuse them, Steven.
Oh, and I promise, new people, I will always get it correct for them. Jared, on the other hand, I could care less.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's the valid. That's a valid.
All right,
excuse.
Jared Huggies.
I mean, the scheme that Jared is going to be racing in the next or in 2 weeks from now is just going to show you how much I don't care.
Okay,
Ooh, I don't.
now that we're on this whole like last name mispronunciations now, like we have Jared Huggies, we have Dakota Bleh. By the way, Steven, do you realize that you're Borble on the broadcast?
I've heard that throughout my whole life as well. Like I've heard 7 variations of my name before, and they don't offend me.
And then we've got Adam Bazeo.
Oh, hey, you know what? Don't diss on the Bazeo, because I started on that too when I first started broadcasting for Wicked season 1. So
that is the most common mispronunciation of my name I get. It's probably, I think people probably say that more than Buzzio, which is the correct way of saying it. You know, the first time they see or read it. So, Pit Slap did a good job though. They figured it out the first time. I think Zach might have called me Bazeo once, and then they fixed it. But
I don't think
I'll be
they've
Bazeo.
mispronounced-
Steven will be Borble.
I don't think
we're
they've messed
okay.
up my last name yet.
I think they've gotten yours on the first try, which I think is a rarity. You know,
I
Very
mess
going
up your name
around.
every time I try to spell it. Every time I manually go to type your name in, for some reason I'm like Wolf S.
Yep.
Wolfessifer.
I
Wolfsire.
Sorry. Just finish. Just responding to the poor and needy.
Oh, the poor and needy. Oh, that would be all of us here because Adam
I
doesn't
think
pay
he's
us.
I think he's referring to
Exactly.
Jared.
Exactly.
Well, with that, yes. So our standings are close. Did we talk through 4 through 9?
Yeah. So Steven, Carl, Richard, Jared, Dustin, all within like what do we say?
40,
20
a little bit
points.
less than 40 points. 4 through 9 at
Let's
least.
see. Yeah, you're there 8, 16, 17, 31 points all together right there. So
God bless.
I mean that's with Brendan Maddox too, and he's been finding some speed in this late part of the season. So the cutoff is tight as well, but yeah, 4 through 9, it's going to be fun to see who goes into the chase with some of those extra bonus points. It'll be interesting to see with Richmond and Auto Club. Or, I'm sorry, not Richmond, Bristol. Jeez, Bristol. It's Bristol, baby.
I was just gonna say those are two. The next 2 weeks are gonna be nuts because Bristol is Bristol, that doesn't need any help, and then going to Auto Club. I mean, the racing there is basically super speedway racing for 10 or 15 laps. You know what I mean? So if these stages come down to short runs, or if the end of the race comes down to a short run,
anything can happen.
I think the hauler's going to be busy the next 2 weeks. So
okay. I gotta give commendation to Evan with his top 3 finish. It was good, but man, he raced like a man possessed. He was pushing. I know we were crossing paths every so often, and he was pushing for every inch he could get, and we both of us were really fighting hard for each other, and it could have been part of the brawl too, but I know Evan and I were going back and forth, left and right, and Evan understands the gravity of the situation he's into the points, and he literally is trying to teeth and claw his way into the chase. That is one guy you're going to have to watch out for these next couple of weeks.
I think we saw some of that. Richard even made a comment about it, about me. Carl, you mentioned it about yourself earlier too. I think we saw a little bit more, I don't want to say aggression, because I just don't think that's quite the right word. But I'm going to use it, raciness. You know, I was more aggressive than I normally am Tuesday as well. I stayed in moves that I would normally back out of more. I made moves I wouldn't necessarily do. The more aggressive pit strategy is very uncharacteristic for me. Carl, you mentioned it yourself, you know, being a little bit more aggressive. Evan, we just talked about. Mason was driving like a madman when he needed to get back to the front of the field. So I think the later we get in the season, you're going to see guys that are, for a number of reasons, just being more aggressive. And that's not a bad thing. That's not inherently a bad thing. You can be aggressive and smart at the same time. So I thought that was an interesting observation to make from this past week.
And I think Evan made both of those moves. He was smart and aggressive. He was able to make the move where he wanted to. He wasn't wrecking everyone. The only thing he was wrecking was his own tires. He had a lot of short run speed. He was able to really move toward the front, but after, 20, 25 laps, he started to move to the back. That right front had already burned up a little bit, had some temperature. So he's going to be interesting to see how he handles Bristol and Auto Club. 2 different tracks, but now that I think about it, they are kind of the same in how you approach tires. And you got to be able to turn. You got to have that speed. And so these next 2 weeks are going to be very interesting for the 81 of Evan and the 38 of Jamie Plord. Both of those cars going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Bristol races with the new aero package. I haven't raced it since the updates. Have any of you guys?
Very little. Go ahead, Carl.
Richard and I raced it in another league a few weeks ago, and it's interesting. It's definitely feels a little more grippy. Maybe not so much on the tire wear, but it's does open up some racing lanes. I think it does actually.
Okay.
I'm sure if you guys talk to I'm sure if you guys talk to Gavin, he's going to tell you how to drive the track.
I'll have to do that.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
No, I'm being serious.
Okay. But going on to Bristol, obviously the Bristol race that we have this coming week, the Mountain Empire Animal Hospital 250 at Bristol on August 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern on Pit Stop TV. Last season we went to Bristol. It's one of the few tracks that we're running again this season just because, it's Bristol. Interesting note from that race, we only had 2 leaders that whole race, and it was Ronnie and Gavin, 2 guys that are no longer full-time in this.
Oh, I remember this
race. We had 1 caution for incident, which does not sound like a Bristol race, and it was a 200-lap Bristol race that was done in 59 minutes.
That has to be the shortest race we've ever ran.
It is not, but it's one of, if not the shortest asphalt race. The dirt race last season, if I remember correctly, was 44 minutes. But again, like, it's different.
Yeah, I guess I meant asphalt. That's 59 minutes for 200 laps at Bristol. That's wild.
Yeah, it was a very quick race where tire wear did come into play massively. Yeah, I don't know what to expect, but you bring up a good point of the new aero package. Is that going to make a different race for us? Will we see more action? Obviously, with the points that we brought up earlier, there's 2 races now until the chase, so people being more aggressive, more assertive, fighting for those positions. Is that going to lead to more cautions? We thought it was going to be caution fest last time, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
I feel the way that the car handles at Bristol now, the car is a lot more racy, so you can make passes a lot easier from what I witnessed last season, because I was on, I think, our anniversary trip to Orlando or something like that. I know I wasn't here for the race. I watched it.
Correct.
But I know on that one, I know there was complaints that it was really hard to pass last season. And Ronnie Norman basically took the lead and then just basically tire saved and led the field to the checkered flag.
Yeah, it was a parade.
Because I knew Gavin was getting mad about it, like not mad, but irritated, I will say, because he couldn't pass. Like there was no passing at Bristol last season, from my understanding. This season, that's going to be a different story, and you can pass anywhere on that track. It's tire wear will matter on what lane you can take.
I think it's going to be almost a similar repeat of Chicagoland, where you either choose speed or you choose the save. I think you're going to have to really be focused on one or the other. And you're going to see comers and goers like we saw at Chicagoland. I think tire saving is going to be another huge factor in this race. Obviously, fuel mileage, not as important, but tires always come into play at Bristol, and the 2 lines are going to be huge. I think next to the wall, and then wrap in the inside. The middle is going to be hard to do just because it's hard to go 3 wide at Bristol, but I think we're going to have another race eerily similar to Chicagoland this upcoming week.
I don't know. I'm really interested to see it. Bristol is a fun track that leads to a lot of action typically, and it was a little disappointing last season. Like Richard said, it was kind of a boring race at the end of the day. Like, not that we want to have cautions, but we want to be able to race each other, and we weren't really able to race too much. So that Chicagoland comparison is really interesting to me, because I don't think of that as Bristol. I'm excited for it if that's going to be the case. And I guess we'll find out after our practice sessions, and Monday in the practice race will definitely tell us a lot. It's the best place to learn. But
I remember, now that we've mentioned it, I vividly remember last season hating Bristol. I remember, and I don't normally hate it. I actually don't ever love Bristol in the sim, at least. But I remember last season just being miserable the whole race, and maybe that's why, I'm assuming. I just did not like the way the cars drove.
no, they were tight, and I remember of what Richard was saying of Gavin being upset. He was one of the most upset I've ever seen him.
I remember this too, yeah.
And it was just because, like, the leader and the winner of the race basically got around him, worked so hard to get around him, and then basically parked it on his front bumper, and he couldn't do anything about it. Like, he's not going to just bump him out of the way. It's just, you couldn't pass. It was 1 lane, and you just had to ride around. But Adam, are you able to confirm, is it a night race?
Yes.
So that's a good thing. I don't know what it's going to change about the track or anything. It's just going to be more fun under the lights, in my opinion.
Interesting stat, Adam. Rev says you got 3rd that race. You may have hated Bristol, but apparently it was good to you.
It wouldn't be the first time I got 3rd.
You barely got beat by Gavin. Barely.
Shocker. This will, as a note about the time of the race, this will be one of only, I think, 3 races all season that is a true night race. We've done a few sunset races this season, which I really like. I think it looks great on the broadcast. I think it adds interesting dynamics to the track conditions, as far as the track being hotter in the beginning of the race and then cooling off. But this will be a true night race. from start to finish. So
They call me a
forward to
nerd, but I love night races just because you can see the rotors glowing. Absolute best part of it.
No,
That and the flame out the exhaust every time. I
well,
love
that's
it.
why I try to limit the number of like straight up night races we have because they're supposed to be a little bit special. You know what I mean? And I think Bristol's a perfect track for one of those races. So yeah, I'm excited. Looking forward to it.
Anything else y'all have to share about this week's coming race? Any pointers you can give us from your league race a couple weeks ago, or not just us, to anyone listening too? And you
I
don't
mean,
have to
really,
share.
it's going to be tire saving. Find your brake bias, find something that's comfortable, and make sure you find the line. And honestly, being able to drive both lines comfortably, being able to get the entry, get the exit out, find both, will probably help you pass cars because they're going to be some are going to go high, some are going to go low. That's probably the best I can think of. Adam, another question: is it going to be a single pit lane or is it going to be double pits?
We'll do single pit.
Okay.
Because we don't have enough cars. I believe you can fit 21 cars on single pit road. So
well, what I mean is, you're gonna have to start in the exit of 2, go
No.
all the way
No,
around.
no,
So
no.
it'll be the dual pit road, but we'll all be on the front stretch.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
More than
Okay.
likely, yeah.
I apologize.
Okay.
There might be one or two
understand.
on the backstretch.
We'll see. I mean, we
You
do
think?
have. I mean, Matthew Quarter's coming back this week.
Oh,
I mean,
another one of our nomenclature fun ones, Cordair, thanks to
there.
And possibly
Thanks,
Ericsson.
Houseman, yeah.
I guess I'll have to sit down and look at the roster because if it's going to extend onto the backstretch at all, then we have to do
Single pit lane.
single pit road. So I'll have to look at that. I didn't think it was. I guess it will be though, because we had. If Richard Smith would have got his VR working,
That'd have
we
been
would have
19.
had, I think, 19 for Chicagoland. And if we have 3 guys come back this week, Zach King might come back this week.
Matthew Corder,
Yeah.
Porter, Erickson.
Erickson.
I mean, we might be at 22, 24 cars or something like that. So we TBD.
DVD. Yeah, we can
TBD.
discuss more offline. But with that, we're gonna go into our predictions for who we think is gonna win this coming week. Adam, since you're our guest, we'll let you go first.
I'm gonna pick Isaiah.
You
Oh, Steven's angry. He's
I'll tell you
angry.
what, I said it last week that I had a feeling that he was going to be quick. I didn't want to be too bold about it because it was a dirt race. But after seeing him on dirt, on a short dirt track, seeing him at a fast 1.5 miles where you have to manage your stuff, he obviously knows what he's doing. So I'm going to pick Isaiah.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I have a feeling he is a short track driver. Carl, will go with you next.
Oh man. I think Johnny Wood Jr. is looking for it. He's had some bad luck. I think he made a bad. Well, he's gotten in some bad incidents at Chicagoland. He did okay at Eldora. Johnny Wood is looking for his second win of the season, and he's been able to show up at almost every type of track. He's right there with Mason almost any time we go anywhere. Tuesday, in and out. I think Johnny Wood Jr. May have a chance to get that second win this season.
All right, Richard.
Oh man. Good question. Y'all took all the good ones. I mean, there's
mean,
still a lot of good ones.
All of us are still left, so that's kind of
Yeah,
mean.
that's.
Not saying it's realistic, but it's kind of mean.
You know, I'm gonna go out on a limb on this one. Dustin Stallings.
I hate you guys, dude. I really do.
That's a good.
Are you kidding?
No, that's a good pick. That pick.
Oh
makes
man,
sense.
I think he actually is really fast on the short tracks, a lot faster than he is on a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, he does well.
He does really well on them. So, and I think he's had a lot of bad luck of late, especially at Chicagoland. So I think he's pretty much locked into the chase for the championship. So But now it's just kind of how many more people can he pick off to get those extra points going in. So I think he's racing. He wants to get one of those little red stickers. Unlike his teammate Brendan, who likes collecting the little black with orange stickers. But no, I think Dustin Stallings has a really good shot at taking home the win at Bristol.
Yeah,
He's kind of due too.
Definitely.
I think if you
He's
go back
always
to
fast.
the first quarter of the season, he was up there contending for the lead or second or third pretty much every week. I think he's went through kind of a lull here the last couple weeks, whether that be because of incidents or just maybe a little bit of lack of speed to a point. But I think he's due. This is a perfect Dustin track. I've raced with Dustin for a couple years. Everybody already said he's a great short track driver, so that's a good pick.
And honestly, I think I've seen kind of a drop in aggression from him, I guess you could say, after New Hampshire.
Well, right hook and the boss will do that.
So I think that's one thing. So he's kind of slowed down and taken a step back to kind of, I don't want to say it, but more like evaluate how he drives with everybody. So he really hasn't been extremely fast. Now he's still really, really good on those long runs. That dude can save tires like no other.
To piggyback what you said, I think I think this says a lot about Dustin as a person. I think that whole New Hampshire thing, I think he lost his temper and then immediately regretted it. Because we talked after the race, he sent me a message after the race, and I think that just goes to show, we're all capable of losing our tempers. It's just kind of a matter, just like in life, how you kind of bounce back from that or move on from it. And I think Dustin had two choices. I think he could kind of lean into it and just race like that all the time, or he could kind of take a step back and go, like, is this how do I want to be that guy in this league? You know what I mean? Do I want to be the overly aggressive guy that hooks people? And I think it says a lot about somebody who can make a mistake and then more or less grow from it. So I'd be happy to see him get a win.
You don't want to be the Denny Hamlin of our league.
You really don't. I was gonna use a Wicked reference, but I refrained.
I was thinking Austin Dillon, but I guess we're going different directions with those.
Nobody wants to be Austin.
Nobody
Austin
does.
Dillon doesn't even want to be
I
Austin.
draw somewhat of a similar parallel from that Dustin situation at New Hampshire to Ross Chastain last season at Darlington when Rick Hendrick called him out. And kind of the aggression tapered off, and so did the results a little bit. And honestly, like if you're someone that races with a lot of aggression and you fight for every position and you get called out and you take a step back and you're like, I do need to start racing cleaner, it's hard to adapt. Maybe not cleaner is the right term, but it's hard to adapt to that and to find the new line of where to push it, and results can be struggling soon after that. So he is stuck in that little bit of a lull, and this is a perfect place for him to find that back. But I wish I could pick him. I wish I could also pick Isaiah. So thank both of y'all.
You're welcome.
And I don't want to say I think Evan Patinko is going to win this week. And I don't want to say that because I obviously looking out for my teammate Jamie at the end of the day. Like, I want him to succeed and make the chase. But I don't remember. I feel like Evan has had success. Yeah, he had a good run here last time we were here. He did finish 7th right behind me. So it's not out of the question. I do think this is going to be a bit more hectic and chaotic of a Bristol race than we had last season. So for that purpose, I think there's going to be some wrenches thrown in there at the end of it, and he's going to be on the right side of things and find himself getting a victory this season.
I like that pick too.
Thank you. 4 solid picks. One of them has to be right, you would think.
You would think.
Yeah.
Oh.
Evan Tico's got a lot to go for also. He's still got those couple points to get to that 10th place. So.
A win would really help solidify that entry into the chase.
It also depends on stages, though. So no, sorry.
Well,
One thing I thought about, I joined the podcast late last week. Did either one of you guys pick me to win Chicagoland?
I think one of us did, actually.
Oh, really?
Just can't remember which one, yes.
Okay, because I was gonna say you guys have been rooting for me. Someone's been picking me every week for the last 9 weeks, and I kept not doing it. And I told Julie in the car this morning, I was like,
I don't know.
I think they finally stopped picking me, and I won. But
No,
like
yeah,
I said,
I
came in late,
think I
so.
picked. No, this might have been Eldora. I think I picked you or Johnny Wood, but it might have been. I know. I lose track sometimes.
I think
all the
Richard
time.
picked Adam, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I wasn't here.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
No,
you know you're
so
wrong
I
right
think
off the
one of us
bat.
did. I think one.
I'll take it, though. I'll take the
maybe
W.
one of us might have picked Mason. The other might have picked Johnny. It was either Adam and Johnny or Mason and Johnny.
No,
I don't remember.
It was Borbell. You picked Mason. Carl picked Johnny and Mason. Carl
Okay.
didn't really pick one
See
person.
that?
It
I
was
just needed that.
tough.
I just needed that underdog edge. That's
Yeah.
all.
No, you just needed that Kyle Larson paint scheme.
Never running another.
Hey, he's lucky that FedEx paint scheme didn't get into him.
Gonna run it till I'm dead now.
At least one 5-car won this week. That's all we say.
Oh,
I didn't
Rev
self-spin
keeps
wreck all my
saying, by the
friends.
way, that he's going on a very thin limb and choosing Eric Jensen.
I mean,
I don't know have much to give on that just because I don't know how he's going to race. I've never seen him at a short track.
yeah, the dude could be the best Bristol racer ever.
He could.
We don't know. Can't
A
really-
short track ringer. Oh Lord.
can't knock it. Can't say much about it.
I really like the Isaiah pick going back to it because I was messaging him today, seeing if we can get him on as a guest. I mean, he was our first option, first choice to have as a guest. No offense, Adam. Like,
Dude, it's cool. I was like the 5th, but I'm here. So
well, we wanted new people. You know, we're tired of
I agree.
the head of the league bullying his way onto the podcast each week.
I'm a
He
bad
doesn't
man.
even pay us or bribe us.
He
either,
comes
like,
down to
Jesus.
each of our feet and begs us to get on the show each week.
Not only
No,
do I not
no.
pay
He
you
doesn't
guys,
beg us. He like literally stomps on our head and says, "I'm joining."
Not only do I not pay you guys, I win and take your money.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Oh, that's
All right.
like lime salt in the
Carl, Richard, we starting our own
Margarita
league.
Salt in there.
All right, the
grind it in there.
CSR Racing League is starting next season.
This escalated quickly.
But while I was messaging Isaiah, going back to it, I realized his username said something Tennessee. So he might be a Bristol ringer for all we know.
Oof.
Just saying, leaving that there. But Jared says the FedEx paint scheme should cost points. And going into that,
I don't disagree.
it did cost points to the driver of the real FedEx paint scheme this past week.
It did. Yeah, that's a great transition.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what I'm here for.
It's like I pay you.
Go far.
It's, Rich, it was very obvious where I was going with it. But yeah, so that came out today. I saw it like right before we hopped online, honestly. We're going right into the NASCAR news now since we're done talking about the Butt Kicker Cup Series for a minute. We'll get back to that next week. NASCAR news. Denny Hamlin fined 75 driver and owner points, regular season points, and 10 playoff points for, what was the actual verbiage? Engine.
So
What they did is they disassembled the motor before it was inspected by NASCAR.
Well,
Yeah, I can
Toyota
understand.
did.
Toyota did. And Toyota literally came out, the president and everything of TRD came out and apologized to Joe Gibbs, the team of Denny, FedEx, like everybody, and said this was on us. And it sucks that it, boiled down that this could be another one of those, you say Mickey Mouse wins. This could be that Mickey Mouse situation where Denny misses the playoffs again.
Well, I don't think he's gonna miss the playoffs, obviously. But
He's got to
he'll-
win. He's got to win. Never mind.
He's got a couple.
But those
He's got a
10
couple wins. Sorry.
I think the overlooked part of this is those 10 playoff points.
Mhm.
That is huge. That's huge.
And-
As close as we are to the playoff starting, that is detrimental, especially to someone like Denny, who has cooled off significantly. I mean, this dude was on fire in the middle part of the season, and you combine the penalty, him being a little bit cool, and Toyota's engine issues as a whole. We touched on this last week. I mean, that's not a good way to start.
And he fell from 3rd in regular season points to 6th, which is another 7 playoff point difference. So a total swing
Yeah,
of 17
huge.
playoff points.
Huge implications.
And I believe his crew chief was also fined $100,000, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where the slip up could have been. I know TRD took responsibility, but at the end of the day, Joe Gibbs sent the engine, or the team sent the engine off to TRD in California before sending it to NASCAR.
All right, you ready for a tinfoil hat moment? We've been talking about the
I already know where this is
reliability.
going.
We've already talked about the reliability of the TRD engines. What if this was intentional to say we want in there to make sure everything was fine before NASCAR took it apart and put it together? They thought it might have been a more valuable risk to say, hey, we didn't have any engines that expired. Let's see how this went and perform this disassembly situation.
My
But why
tinfoil hat
Denny's?
was way different. I thought you were going to say that. So the rule, the whole infraction is based on the fact that any race-winning engine has to be inspected by NASCAR before the end of its life and it's disassembled. And that doesn't necessarily mean like Denny wins a race and then that engine immediately goes. Like in this situation, this was his Bristol win engine. They reused that engine a few times, never took it apart or disassembled it. So my theory was that engine at Bristol was super illegal. So instead of getting it inspected, they did. But at the end of the day, I think this was just an oversight on Toyota's end. I think Toyota probably gets that engine from Joe Gibbs no matter what, and it's probably up to Toyota to get it to NASCAR. The president had mentioned they put in some new policies and procedures to try to prevent this from happening in the future. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Well, and it's funny because Steven and I were talking before the podcast. Is like it doesn't make sense. You have over 100 wins under your organization. You do this week in, week out. You've already won multiple wins during the season. Why now? Why is there an issue all of a sudden with a well-oiled machine, essentially? So why all of a sudden is TRD having issues getting their engines back to NASCAR R&D?
Well, I mean, that's a good question as a whole, right? Why are they blowing up all of a sudden?
Also, yeah. So, I mean, each kind of goes hand in hand. Okay, this hasn't blown up over how many races did we do? So what are we doing right in these engines and what's causing these other engines to blow? I think they could possibly go hand in hand.
There's just a disgruntled Toyota employee dropping washers into pistons when he builds these engines.
Oh,
Is it
Dang it, it wasn't Denny's.
These
Dang it,
engines
wasn't
can run
Denny's.
like 2
Dang it,
races?
that wasn't Denny's.
Is that right?
It depends on the track. Yeah, I think anywhere between
2 and 3
2 to
races?
4.
Okay.
Yeah, I think depending on the track, they can.
Is it safe to assume that this engine was used in the Richmond race and then sent back to Toyota? That's why this news is coming out now, I would assume.
I think that would be a safe assumption. Same package.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they won with that same engine at Bristol. Why wouldn't they bring that? It was probably the same car from Bristol.
You think?
Probably.
I mean, it's a short track package. They probably use roughly the same car.
They ran the same, because last year they ran a different package at Bristol than the other short tracks. But this year, I believe it's the same Richard, what's the word for the bottom arrow piece?
Diffuser.
Diffuser.
Oh, diffuser.
No diffuser. So I would think it's the same car, but definitely the same engine. I would have to think it's the same engine.
Even
Yeah.
Rev says it's a good chance that it was the same car.
Yeah, I would think it is.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about there, and we're never going to be able to know the actual reasoning. And yes, Toyota said it was their fault, but we won't know. But Denny has got to be pissed. I can only imagine. It has nothing to do with him. He didn't do anything wrong. It's completely out of his hands, and he gets dinged. The NASCAR gods never want him to win a championship, I guess.
A really
He's probably
good
telling
point you
Toyota right
made.
now, is like, you better give me a fast motor there for the next
Or
3
I'm
races
going to
of the
Ford.
playoffs.
Steven, you made a really good point about the regular season standings drop. I didn't even think about that. I was hung up on 10 playoff points. You talk about 17.
That's
now, granted,
huge.
He'll probably make a little bit of that up. Maybe. I mean, Daytona's a total wild card. So
Yeah.
who
Well,
knows?
I mean,
but
Let's talk about Tyler Reddick topping the points right now in the regular season standings.
Yeah.
Tyler Reddick has quietly
Who would have been thought of this? Whose bingo card is this on?
Well, Tyler Reddick might not have been very showy this season, but that dude has been
Consistent
on
still.
fire. I think I saw a statistic or read a statistic in the last 8 races. I believe it's 8 now. His average finish is 3.1. Like
That is
that,
something.
Consistency. That's consistency.
you don't see that in modern NASCAR anymore. You do not see a guy run up front that much.
Oh,
I mean, you got guys like Larson and Hamlin and stuff, but they don't get that result a lot of the time for a number of factors. Reddick's dangerous, man. I think I'm worried about Reddick. I'm even worried about Bell. He's been quiet recently, but man, if Bell makes the Final Four,
We know
that
how those
man
Toyotas are there.
that man is good at Phoenix. And you only have to be good one time in that, if you make the Final
If
Four,
you
you only
get
got to
there.
be good once.
If your brakes survive.
Or if the
Yeah.
engine survives.
No, it
Yeah,
was his
last
brakes.
year-
I know, but this season Toyota's issue is engines.
Season, who knows?
Yeah, that would be a whole tangent in itself. But yeah, Reddick's killing it, and Denny is sad. I think is the things to take from that.
Denny's very sad, and now he no longer has a chance to battle for that the regular season championship. So again,
Yeah,
like that's
no.
just more missed out potential points.
Yeah.
Totally out of contention at this point. He'll be lucky to get. I mean, what was it? Was it 75 owner driver points?
Hmm
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and he's 103 behind Reddick now.
We
with
got
that.
2 races. We got Darlington and Daytona left.
Oh, this is
Um,
not gonna happen.
It's
No,
mathematically possible, but
Yeah,
unlikely.
but
He needs to win one of these last 2 races to even salvage some playoff points
And
back.
everyone needs to like wreck early.
and everybody in the and everybody in the top 8 of points or whatever needs to wreck basically.
Yeah, but yeah, that's one thing.
It's crazy.
He needs to come to one of those races with a Mario paint scheme from Mario Kart, and like with a
Blue
banana
shell?
peel or something on the back, or a blue
I
shell.
was gonna say just blue shell everybody.
Other NASCAR news this week, Richard, I know you shared it with the Discord. I saw it, I think, this morning. NBC flag-to-flag coverage for Daytona first. Daytona, Atlanta, and Talladega going side by side. Is that the actual terminology?
Yeah, it's going to be side by side. You will no longer have, for those 3 races, they are testing to see there will no longer be full screen ads during green flag racing. Because their theory behind this is people tend to turn off that channel when a full screen ad pops up because nobody wants to watch ads. Now, ads, it's sad to say because we all hate ads, but they're a necessity for anything to survive. But like we don't want to see it during a green flag race, especially at those 3 tracks, because at any second something can happen, and you just missed probably one of the biggest wrecks you've probably ever seen. So yeah, anytime during a green flag race or during the green flag runs, they're only going to do side by side, and they even NBC even put that out to the advertising company, saying that you're probably going to get a lot more screen time from the viewers because they're not changing the channel because the race is still on, like they're still watching the race.
This should have been done years ago. There's
for sure.
so many other motorsports. F1 comes to mind immediately. Are completely commercial free. It's not even, oh wait till a safety car comes out and then we'll show a commercial. There's just straight up no commercials. And when you have a generation of people who are used to skipping anything that is inconvenient to them, a 4 or 5 minute long commercial break during
I will
Daytona?
put an argument against that though. Formula One isn't as long as a NASCAR race.
That's the big thing. It's like half, honestly.
Yeah, NASCAR, you're talking 3 to 4 hour races. Formula 1 hour, maybe 2.
Okay, make stage 3 commercial free.
I think my point is the same though. You got to figure out a way to modernize the broadcast for a modern audience, and full screen ads during the entire race especially is not the way to do it. So I'm super excited about it. I can't believe they're actually doing it. I was shocked when I read it.
Yeah, sorry, I was thinking about something and it just completely left my head. But I think it was really just to pick up on Richard's sentiment. It's a difficult situation when you have a 4-hour long race. These broadcast companies have to get paid, and that's how they get paid is their ads. They're not giving NASCAR billions of dollars to broadcast it for free. And I'm glad that they're trying something, and I really hope it works to their benefit, to where that we can have more full coverage. I understand that it's super speedway racing is the start of it, and honestly, if we can just have that at every super speedway race going forward, I think a majority of people would be happy. Like, I don't mind commercial breaks for New Hampshire or for Phoenix. I kind of need those commercial breaks, honestly, because I'm bored and I'm falling asleep and they wake me up again.
It's not so much the actual commercial breaks that bug me sometimes, it's the timing of them.
Oh,
I feel
NBC's
like,
not terrible with them.
No, you're right, and that's a fair distinction to make. But this season, I don't know if it was just me or what, but I feel like they went to commercials at the worst times, like multiple times this season.
Fox
So I
did?
yeah, Fox.
Oh, yeah.
I
God,
think,
yeah.
Yeah, it was just horrendous.
Hey,
but-
6 or 7 laps to go in the stage. Let's go to commercial. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
what?
it'll be showing a battle for the lead. Like, there hasn't been a battle for the lead in 36 laps, and someone's trying to make a pass, and then you're listening to that whopper song for 5.5 minutes.
Whopper,
With Bridge
whopper,
Tree, you could
whopper,
breathe
whopper.
clearer.
Red Street commercials.
That's how you pronounce it?
Bridge Tree? Yeah.
Yeah.
Red Street, I think. But no, excited to see it. Hope it works out. We'll know it if it doesn't work out, if we never see it again. So,
Yeah. Enjoy the 3 races that we have of it while we can.
for sure.
But at least it's the 3 races that we really need the full
Yeah.
green flag racing as much as possible. So
All for it.
they're not spreading out there.
Well,
Yeah.
You won't have a problem of ads getting in your way, Richard, anyway, since you'll be at Daytona this week. So you'll see
Hey,
ads
yeah.
all weekend.
But in 2 weeks, you'll be at Darlington with me
I
and
will.
Gavin
It's going to be a fun time. I'm really excited to go out there.
and Adam and Julie. I heard are coming.
NASCAR is single-handedly bankrupting the Buzzio family.
No, it's bankrupting me.
Adam's got to save up for the off chance that Larson makes the Final Four.
Oh, we're ready for that. That's the like it's unfortunate. I mean, not unfortunately. I mean, I've been to 6 races this year,
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Daytona, Texas,
Daytona, Chicago,
Charlotte.
Texas, Charlotte, Michigan. So 5. I've been to 5 races this year, so I can't say unfortunately, but Phoenix is the only one that we have circled to potentially go to. We just have a lot. It's not even because of finances or anything like that. It's just we just have a lot going on this next stretch of 2 months or so, and it's always on weekends, unfortunately. So
You guys
Hopefully
have a
we-
kid, you won't have a better chance.
oh, I'm aware. I am aware.
Gavin is screaming at you to do it.
YOLO. But yeah, hopefully our boy Larson makes it to the Final Four, and we'll go visit Gavin again.
Very nice. Jared is saying there's only going to be one fall Daytona race in 2024. Just saying that's a really good point. You should go to this race. Man, I really want to, but
And I already gave Julie the option of cheaper flights. You can fly into Savannah or Jacksonville, and we can pick you up and take you to the track.
Please stop.
you want to pay for their flights and their tickets
Nope.
too?
No.
Then they might be inclined.
Yeah, not only do we have to pay for our flights, then we have to babysit. None of this sounds fun to me.
What the
Babysit.
My
hell?
daughter is 9.
Oh, that's babysitting. Come on.
You're babysitting Richard. I'm not talking about your daughter.
I got Richard one of those little backpack leashes. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Is it
Oh,
dinosaur
genius.
or is it monkey?
Oh, God bless.
No, I made you a Denny Hamlin one.
Oh, nice.
The straps.
Where it's Darlington.
Ones
Crap. Might as well put a litter box on my back.
What?
crap baskets. But no, I'm excited for you guys. I hope you have a great time in Daytona. I hope, fingers crossed, that the weather holds up. It doesn't look great right now, but
Hey.
it is
I
Florida.
think it's
so
only
hopefully
22% chance.
As long as Adam's not there, there will not be
Okay.
rain.
That's what I told Julie. I said it's not gonna rain. It'll be fine.
And we're gonna have a a decent sized BRB meetup also because the Maddox brothers are gonna be there. There's
Yep,
gonna be
they're on
me
their
and
way.
Rev as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be
So-
super cool.
next 2 weeks, a bunch of BRB guys at races. It's good to see.
Yeah.
But
I can't believe we convinced Gavin to come out to Darlington.
I can't either. I'm super stoked for it though.
Crazy.
That was wild.
Because man, honestly, if I was just going to a race and Richard's sitting next to me, I don't know if I can make it through the end of it.
I agree. I have to deal with me 24/7.
I wish the Darlington thing would have came up just a little bit earlier in the year because we definitely would have went.
It's not too late.
It is.
It's not too late until it passes, is all I'm going to say.
I'm many things, but I am not a flaky person.
Well, I think we're planning on an Indy 500 trip next year, aren't we?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
That seems like a great plan.
Is my wife watching this right now?
If there is any race that you need to visit as a race fan, the Indianapolis 500 is a bucket list race anybody should go watch. It is just a phenomenal event to go and witness in person.
Even just being, I can't even imagine because so I've only been to Indianapolis once. It was for the first year the Cup guys did the road course. And just being there as big of a fan of racing that I am was so cool. I can't imagine what it's like during Indy 500 weekend.
So I've got a few stories because I grew up 45 minutes from that track. Like it's not like it's just an awesome track. But like my dad, growing up, he used to race dirt street stocks, and it was really cool. In May during the Indy 500 events going on, I don't remember if it was like Indy 500 weekend or whatnot, but we had to go and get race fuel from the inside of the track. And it was so cool just seeing all the fans there. And we're pulling up in this freaking like 1985 Chevy Suburban to go into the infield, into Gasoline Alley with all the Indy cars around and everything. It was great, man. Like we had people, as we had the windows down, fans were sitting there like, you gonna race that on the track and stuff? We're like, you bet we are.
You're damn right.
So, no, that was probably one of the coolest things ever with that track. But the year I graduated high school and was going into the Navy, me and a couple of my friends...
1982?
Shut up.
15 minutes before
my
dirt.
God. I hate y'all. But we won tickets to the Indy 500, but we also got VIP tickets to was it Letterman Racing? Who was he with? It was Letterman. Anyway, it was Danica Patrick's team at the time, which she is the nicest person in the world in person. But it was cool. We got to sit like where all the rich people sit, like to eat and everything. Like
The rich people?
No, seriously, like all these people were like dressed like, oh, geez, we're in like shorts and t-shirts.
It's like
these guys
the
are
Kentucky
in, like,
Derby.
slacks and button-up shirts. It's like, what in the heck? So, but it was pretty cool. We got like a little VIP tour back into the trailer areas and stuff, and it was a pretty cool experience.
That sounds really sweet. I'd love to go out to Indianapolis at some point, but I don't know. I have to go to Daytona first. I got to go to Daytona 500 before I go to the Indy 500, I think.
I've got an
500
extra ticket.
500 is a must-go event.
Yeah, good luck me telling my wife, I'm going to go to Daytona. You stay here. You watch the dogs. You work. Yeah. I don't know if that's
not
going to
fly.
She can hang out with my wife that weekend and bring the dogs down here.
You're asking for a lot. You really want to deal with these dogs?
I won't.
That's crazy.
My wife loves dogs, so she can have fun.
Hey, they'll be with the vet too. I mean, it can't go wrong. There's nothing that can go wrong here.
Oh, yeah, dogs.
I'm not seeing a downside here.
The downside is I'm not even going to get into it. It's not worth it right now.
There's just too much.
We'll talk offline. We'll talk offline.
You're a wise man, Steven.
Thank you.
We have the tracks pretty badly right now.
But so yeah, NASCAR, going back to it, was at Michigan this past week. I just wanted to, we'd already talked that Reddick won and Reddick's been on fire, yada, yada, yada. I wanted to talk about Corey LaJoie's flip, and also NASCAR implementing a new fin of sorts on the side of the car to prevent that. Whoever wants to just jump in, give their perspective.
I can just say, as someone who was at the race, it was wild. I have never seen a car not in modern NASCAR anyway, flip so fast. So we were between the exit of 4 and start finish. We had good seats, so we were able to see the whole track. And you saw the smoke, and he flipped so fast. They didn't have it on the TV, like they didn't catch it quite live. But my vision just happened to be there, and he flipped so fast that I saw him on the straightaway racing and didn't see him flip. Like, he flipped so fast that all you could see from the stands was the smoke, and I was like, oh, I wonder what happened. And then as soon as he caught the grass, you saw the car up in the air. 2 cars flipped over this week, which is crazy. We had an Xfinity flip and we had a Cup flip.
In the same spot. They actually dug in at the same spot at the A-pillar in the grass.
I hope these fins that they put on don't have any adverse effects on aero. We already deal with so much aero, and these cars already make so much dirty air for the cars behind them. I think NASCAR tends to have gut check reactions, like really quick reactions to certain things. At the racetrack, and I didn't watch the broadcast, so I don't know if this was brought up or anything like that. On Monday, which is when this happened, it was very windy. It was really windy, and the wind was going from turn 3 towards turn 2. And I really think it was just a perfect storm of events. I think that really strong headwind, because when I say it was windy, I don't mean it was breezy. I mean, it was windy. And the way he spun, I think it was just one of those things that happens. Nobody likes to see it, but as long as the fins don't affect the racing, I don't care. I mean, if any kind of safety item is probably a good thing at the end of the day, but the flip itself was crazy. I mean, that car flipped. It looked like an iRacing flip.
Yeah.
It happened so fast. It was so goofy.
I wish these cars in iRacing can blow over like that.
Oh, right?
No. But no, they did actually mention that on the broadcast. They had actually said when they were going over the wreck, they had straight up said like he was probably going 195, 197, and then going down the backstretch, they're going into a 20, 25 mile an hour wind. They're like, that's like the wind passing that car at 215, 220 mile an hour.
So they did mention the wind.
Oh yeah, they covered it pretty well.
They did. They covered
See
it
the
very
car
well.
is very
And
good.
they even said
That's
like
good,
even
good.
going that much air across that car, those cars were designed not to do that. That's the whole point of all of those aero flaps. Even the wind tunnel thing that they showed to explain it was impressive. That was cool to see.
You know what? Oh, sorry, Richard.
Oh no, that's fine. But yeah, no, like you were saying, like that was a very fast flip. Like it was just like I watched the replay and it was all slow motion because I was talking to Rev in here and then he was like, "Oh, LaJoy," and I was like, "What happened?" He goes, "Oh, he flipped." I'm like, "Rev, I gotta get off here. I'm gonna go watch the race." But I went and it was like going slow motion. I'm like, "Oh wow, it wasn't wild or anything. It was just like a basic flip." But then like when they played at full like regular speed, I was like, "Damn, he just flipped over like a pancake. Like what the heck was that?"
An unnaturally fast flip. But one thing real quick before I forget, something exciting we got to see this week. It's just you and me now, Richard, so you and me. One exciting thing we saw this week that I don't think we've seen in a couple years now, 204 miles per hour going into turn 1. Can we all just appreciate that?
They actually clocked him at 207 at once.
Oh, okay. So I'm going off of what I heard on my scanner. I didn't see any kind of like official thing. So 207 miles per hour. Can we just talk about that's how fast these Cup cars should be running at these big tracks?
Yes, I agree. I think they should be.
I think it was Kyle Busch's spotter I had on. When
Gavin says 209.
209.
They actually clocked one at 209. I believe it was Larson also.
Even better, having those kind of speeds, these cars should not be doing 180 miles an hour. You know what I mean? So I was super excited. Like we've had a couple different numbers come out now, but when I was at the track listening to my scanner, they said 204 into turn 1, and I was like, yeah, dude, like get it. And then Corey LaJoy flipped over. So,
yay!
Now I will say that I'm shocked that I'm curious if this fin that they're adding here at Daytona is if it wasn't a plan already after Ryan Preece's flip.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, well, I mean, again, it was more of because of the transition from the asphalt to the grass, but like even then, it still, like the flaps still should have done their job. So, but what we're talking about for that new fin that they're adding is literally on the driver's side of the car, on the back window, there's a little spoiler basically that goes down the side of the window. They're just mirroring it and putting it on the other side of that back window. So it's the same fin. It's just to help disrupt that air and put downforce on that back window to keep the car on the ground when it does go sideways. So I do hope that it doesn't disrupt, like you said, I hope it doesn't disrupt the air and make dirty air even that much worse. These cars tend to be a little unstable at times. So we'll see what they said the thing's been tested. So
yeah, it seems like they've had this for a while. Honestly, like I wouldn't doubt if this has been being tested consistently or at least a couple of times previously. And now they just saw the chance to implement it, and they're going to just implement it now, and they have the reason. I couldn't imagine it really affects aero that much.
I don't think so either. These cars are just so sensitive.
They are.
But I think it'll be fine. I don't think that the fin, I don't think in theory really does anything when the car's going straight. So
I'd be more concerned if it was a different track where aero is already a factor, like a bigger factor. It's a super speedway. It's a drafting track. I don't think it's going to impact drafting as much as dirty air in like a passing scenario on like a mile and a half.
Just to clarify for me and anybody watching, is that if you guys know, is this a super speedway fin, or is this something that's going to be on the car all the time?
All we know is that they're implementing it at Daytona for the race at Daytona and nothing further.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a let's test it and see how it does in a race situation. Because, I mean, it might be a small fin, but I guarantee there's going to be air turbulence between those two fins on that back window.
NASCAR's going to be pissed when there's like 6 flips this weekend.
Whoa, what do we do wrong this time, guys?
I mean, it's extra air turbulence up top, but like it won't really impact the car behind it as much because it's already higher up, and it's going to, is my thought. Again, I am no means an expert on any of this. But
I don't know. It kind of sounds like they're trying to create downforce without creating a wake, and I don't see how that's possible, honestly. So I think it's going to affect more than just the downforce of the car that they have. It's going to affect everything around them, and we're going to see a little more interesting side drafting, especially on that right side. If they're going to put it on that right side window, we're going to see how different a car handles on the right side versus the left side, if you get behind them or in front of them. So I think it's going to matter, especially at a track like Talladega, which is so very aero sensitive. We're going to see a different type of racing, I think, and it's going to take the fans and the drivers themselves to get used to.
You know, one thing about Daytona, not Talladega, but
oh shit.
Me and Steven.
Talladega last night. Sorry.
I think Steven and I had a moment there. One thing these Cup cars do currently is they use the, if you want to call it the peak method, where they'll to get away from that dirty air, they'll kind of stick half of their car to the side of another car that's in front of them. So I wonder, that was kind of where my thought process went to, Carl, was is that airflow going to be disrupted more than it was before? So is that going to be less effective? Is it going to be worse than being behind the car? I guess none of us are aero engineers, so I guess anything we speculate on is kind of a moot point. So I guess we'll find out Saturday.
And I guess one final thing, this isn't going to create more downforce when the car is going straight. It's just really to keep the high air pressure area above the car as opposed to getting below the car. It's supposed to put more downforce on when it's sideways. So it really shouldn't affect patterns going straight in a perfect environment has no cars around. Again, I don't know. We could talk about this in circles.
They'll do some sort of graphic during the race and simplify it. I haven't seen anything. This is new, so I mean, it's. I have a feeling they'll go over it, and we'll see what it does during the race. And like you said, Adam, Steven, we could talk all day and all night about this, but we really don't make enough to.
Steve Letarte will cover it well. and
Exactly.
he'll tell us exactly what we need to know.
Let's segue with Steve Latartan into the booth. We have Lee Diffie coming in. And if you're not familiar with who Lee Diffie is, he's covered IndyCar, he's covered IMSA. He's done a lot of broadcasting, a lot of commentating, and a lot of other disciplines for NBC. So, what do you guys think about Lee Diffie coming to the oval side of things?
A little bit disappointed.
Me too, if I'm being honest. I think he's great. I don't know.
He is great.
He is great, but I feel like I'm being like a stereotypical American about it. I just feel like it's odd. Those voices you hear for IndyCar or for other disciplines of racing are so varied and they're so different, which is good, obviously. I just, he called a couple races in the past. One of them that stands out to me is Kyle Larson's first Cup win at Michigan. I believe Lee Diffie actually called that race. And he does a great job. But I don't know. I feel like there's so many other people out there that have been involved in NASCAR that aren't right now. That could bring maybe a little bit more to the broadcast.
Sam Dyer to NBC NASCAR.
I mean,
right. I'm just like fingers crossed for Dr. Jerry Punch to come back one day. I think I'm just.
I truly think Rick Allen is one of the best.
Rick Allen, and he's gotten so much better, though. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the last 2 or 3 years, Rick Allen has really found his stride with this.
Yeah. He's exciting. He's fun. He's loud.
He has a perfect commentator voice. So I'm a little disappointed, if I'm being honest. And it's nothing against his skill set or his experience or anything. Like, he's fantastic. But I don't know. To take Rick Allen out and not, I don't know. I'm just a little disappointed, I guess.
I think the only word I can think is disappointed because, like, I have such a feeling about Rick Allen. Like, I really enjoy his commentating style and his flow. Anyone is a slight step down, honestly, in my head, besides primetime Darrell Waltrip. But, yeah. It's unfortunate, but it'll still be good. I know a lot of people in the community are really hurt by it and really upset, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just going to mute the broadcast and listen on PRN or MRN," when you can do that either way. But
is that the kind of general sentiment? I haven't really been following the social stuff about that particular news story. Is it more so negative than it is positive?
From everything I've seen, yes.
That's interesting. Not surprising.
No.
But
I'm going to be a little ignorant here. Is he British?
No, I think he's.
I could assume
Australian.
so.
Australian? Okay.
I think he's Australian or New Zealand.
And don't get
But
me
he's
wrong,
got that accent, though, right?
it's a
Yes.
different accent, and
Okay.
it's really good. He's really talented and he's really exciting, but it's just different. And
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it. Like, Carl and I, we watch F1, we watch IMSA, and IndyCar or whatever. Like, we're used to that voice style, that accent, basically, in that style of racing. Whereas NASCAR, we're very used to that very atypical American accent calling those races. That's just what we're used to.
Richard,
That's exactly.
and it's
that's
Adam.
exactly what I was getting
His
at.
skill, it's nothing against what he can do. It's just, it's going to sound very weird not hearing an American voice calling a NASCAR race. That's not a road course.
I'm actually kind of excited for it because it kind of really shows NASCAR's lean to be more international, to get that other voice in there. Lee Diffie, I think he's called the Rolex 24, which is a crown jewel in the wide world of sports for racing in general. So he has that voice on there. He's done Indy 500. He's done a lot of really good commentator work, and I'm really excited to bring his talents to NASCAR and see what he can kind of work with and how he would react to this world of NASCAR that, yes, he's not as familiar with, hasn't been as involved with, but he's just as excited. I think he has that excitable sensation about motorsports, and he translates that to you through the TV, and I'm really excited to feel that in a NASCAR race.
and I know people have said, like, especially from the Fox broadcast, I think they've always missed that. And I think Lee Diffie, if he was going into the Fox broadcast booth, I think most people would be really excited.
I think that'd be fine. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good take, Steven.
Thank you. But
That is a good
it's
take.
just hard to replace Rick Allen. Good job.
I feel like NBC has just had a really good flow.
Yeah. Even without
Yeah,
Dale
I mean-
Jr. this season, it's still been great.
Which I was worried about, but I
To
think
be fair, NBC did watch the first half of the season and watched how Fox was really making everybody mad, so they could take notes and be like, "What are we not going to do?"
I feel like
It's just like their
NBC's been on Fox
personalities.
for years though.
Yeah,
Well,
like
and the thing is, like Fox, I like Mike Joy, but of recent,
love Mike Joy.
he's been not as exciting lately, and it's been very sad because I was like, this don't sound like the Mike Joy I remember watching, like, all the time. Like, he's the voice of NASCAR to me. So, but like these past 2 seasons or whatever, it just feels like he's either lost the interest or it's just that's what
he's-
kind of Fox has done doing.
No, I think he's just getting older. I think
Yeah.
that's a high energy job, man. You know,
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
That's you got to be.
He's
Mike
getting up
Joyce,
there.
He's been doing it for a long time. He's older. You know, not everybody's Daryl Waltrip and can yell and scream for 4 hours.
Or
In
make
his
crazy
70s.
jokes like Kevin Harvick.
yeah,
But
or Clint Boyer.
yeah, I guess we'll see. I'm not gonna knock him or be too pessimistic about it, but to say I'm excited would be an overstatement. But I guess we'll see how he does.
And one final thing I wanted to go over to wrap up, I guess really the episode for the week. We're getting close to 2 hours, and Richard started tired. I don't think he's tired anymore. I think we woke him up a little bit with some good conversations. Adam's yawning as I say it, so
Sorry.
I retract my statements. But Daytona's this week, Saturday night. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
God
Saturday
bless.
night race.
7:30 Eastern.
Predictions. And Adam, since you're our guest, you can pick first.
It's only Daytona, no big
I
deal.
know it's not going to be
Worse
Kyle
than gambling
Larson
on a
because
roulette
it's
table.
it's not going to be Kyle Larson because it's a super speedway, so that's out. I'm
BJ
gonna
McLeod.
go Ryan Blaney this week.
Okay. I'll go the same order I've been going all day. Carl, go ahead.
I'm gonna choose Brad Keselowski. RFK
was-
has been really powerful this season, and I just don't think they have the results that actually kind of show the performance they put into these races. A lot of bad luck on both sides, on both of those cars, but I think Brad K can pull it out in Daytona and really perform well.
Richard, let's hear it.
Do I have to?
I mean, you do what you want to do.
It was good to see him running up front in Michigan, where speed mattered. He looked excited to be up there running where he should be running. Yep. Kyle Busch.
I thought about it too, Richard.
It's rough, man. He's not had a good season, and I'm still hoping he gets that win to have 20 consecutive seasons with a win. Daytona's it's a gambled shot in the dark for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it was good to see him feel like he was back in his form at Michigan. So I'm hoping he can carry that momentum into Daytona, and I think he can pull it off.
If you weren't going to do it this week, I was going to do it, Richard.
I just think it's great that Kyle Busch has become the lovable underdog. Like, who had that on their bingo card in 2022?
It's a good
Oh,
point.
man.
I'm pulling for him too. If you asked me 5 years ago if I'd ever cheer for Kyle Busch, I'd say you're crazy. But every week I'm like, come on, Kyle, you can do it, buddy.
Man, I want to
It
try
was
to get
so-
him to sign my car at Daytona or to Darlington.
I was so excited when he was leading at Michigan, and I was just watching Reddick. I was like, those tires are not enough, sir. What about you,
Rev,
Steven? Who you picking?
Just for the sake of being different, I'm gonna go Ross Chastain. I think he'll have some Chevy's help. Chevy's been very, very good at Daytona and super speedways in general. I wanted to go Brad. I wanted to go Kyle Busch, not Larson, obviously.
The real Kyle.
The real Kyle. But Ross just seems like he's finding results, or maybe not results. He's finding speed, and he has speed now potentially. He needs a super speedway race on his side, and he's going to get the good luck, good karma, good spot, good help, whatever it is. Some way he's going to win it. Put your money down.
The money's been put.
There you go. Or BJ McLeod is my backup pick.
That's a strong pick.
well, we have Zach King saying Ricky Stenhouse. Gavin says
No.
Chris Buescher.
No.
Oh God.
No, Ricky
What about
Stenhouse.
Carson Hocevar? Like, realistically.
He still needs that experience. I don't think he has the ebb and flow of the Cup Series yet. He's already made a lot of people mad. He's not gonna have a lot of help. That's just straight up how this season's gone. I don't think he's gonna have that assistance.
I mean, look how he raced the final race of the season of the truck season last year, and then he just straight skipped Xfinity and went straight into the Cup Series. It's like, you did not learn anything new there, buddy. This don't look good. I mean, he's a hell of a driver. And he's a likable person also. Like, you see him in the interviews, like, he's just really likable. But just, he doesn't have that, what's the best way to say it, sportsman-like driving?
He's got to grow up.
Yeah, he's got a lot of growing up
Chaotic
to do. He's
evil.
get out of that truck series.
He's
like
not
mentality.
any different than any other young kid who came up quick. It's the same story all the time. He's probably a little worse than most of them. I don't care for Carson Hocevar. I think he's a good personality. I think he's a likable dude. But as far as being on the racetrack, I don't care for him. But
I think some of my favorite times during the truck races is when they were under like a rain delay and they gave him the camera and the microphone and he just went around like just randomly interviewing the drivers. We're like, oh my God, they gave you a microphone? And he's like, yeah, I know, right?
he's madman
He's just smiling the whole time like, I know, they're crazy. I don't know what they did.
with his giant teethy smile.
That and his hats. His hats are nuts.
They're 10 sizes too big for his head.
I thought that was William Byron that did that.
That's
Well,
like
Byron
the
did that,
fake
but
funny
he does
hats.
Yeah, he does the fancy show hats, cowboy
Yeah, this is
hats.
done unironically.
Yes.
But since it's Daytona, it's a full 40-card field this week, I think.
Yeah.
The extra guys is Joey Gase, Parker
SVG.
Retzlaff, SVG, BJ McLeod, and Austin Hill. And then Cody Ware is in for the 15 car this week.
Man, wouldn't that be something if Austin Hill goes out there and wins the race?
I mean,
Oh man.
I wouldn't be
He's a
too
beast.
surprised. I would
He's
be a little
beast at
surprised.
Super speedways.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, who are you picking?
Brad Keselowski.
Already.
I looked at it, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Harrison Burton.
Oh man.
Signed, sealed, delivered. Give me my money.
Todd Gilliland, Gavin Rogers, Dark Horse, SVG.
Yeah.
Rev says. I mean, look, all these names.
You can
they
pick
named half the
36 guys, and I'd be like, yeah, fine.
Todd Gilliland ran really strong at the 500.
Yeah.
He did. He had a really, really good race. I remember watching him the whole race. I think he got wrecked out at the end. I can't quite remember, but so did half of the field. So
I hope we don't see another race where they're just cruising around trying to save fuel.
I think we will.
Hey, Corey LaJoy finished 4th in the 500 earlier this year.
I mean, I was at the 500, and I was like, and when I was watching, I was like, why the heck is one car catching the pack of cars? I'm like, this don't make any sense. And that's when I read Discord, like, they're saving fuel. I'm like, oh God, it's
Richard,
freaking Daytona.
You'll
guys.
see the
Come
same
on.
thing out of some guys, but since we're only 2 races until the playoffs, those guys that aren't point racing, you'll see them push the envelope a little bit more, which
I
will.
think Richard
Or
forgets that we
or
were
those
watching the
drivers that
500
need
together.
that win to get in, they're gonna push.
Right.
So,
Right.
Oh, wait, what race was I thinking about then?
I
We were
think you're right. It
literally-
was Daytona earlier.
We were
this
literally
season.
watching the 500 together because we were together in the stands.
Oh no, that was the Xfinity race we were together in the stands because they ran the Xfinity race after the 500 after the rain delays.
Oh, my mistake, senor.
Yeah,
Senor.
I was
I
like,
just remember it being late and cold.
Yes, it was definitely late and cold.
Sounds like a lot of your races this year, Adam.
Oh, poor Julie.
Julie went to the gift shop,
So-
bro. She threw in the towel halfway through.
I have a new theory. I don't think it's an Adam issue when he goes to races it rains. I think it might be a Julie issue.
Oh, you can't
This-
blame Julie.
This theory holds water.
Well, it doesn't hold water. It holds dryness. Because it didn't
It
rain
gets rid
that
of
whole
all the
weekend.
water, that's the point.
You were here for the Texas race, and
All
it
of
did
them.
not. Yeah, for all of them, and it did not rain at all. Julie was not
A
there.
drop.
But every other race y'all have been to this season, Julie has been there, and rain has
Uh-oh.
been a factor.
Oh,
Leaving her.
Julie.
Tinfoil hat.
Leaving her at home.
That settles it.
All right.
Julie,
So Adam is
sorry.
coming to Darlington by himself. All fun and games
man.
here, but I mean, I've wrapped up everything I want to cover. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about?
I think we got it all.
Not particularly.
Well,
Want to
awesome.
give everybody in the league, from you guys here on the podcast, the full admin team, Rev and Race Control, and from the top down, every driver that races with us every week. I just want to say thank you to everybody. This has been such a. I mentioned it in the admin chat. I don't know, the other day, went today or yesterday, I don't remember, but this season's just been so good, and that's because of everybody here that puts in time, whether it's on the racetrack or behind the scenes or whatever. So I just want to thank all of you guys for making this probably one of the coolest things that I get to do on a weekly basis, if not the coolest thing I get to do on a weekly basis. So I appreciate all you guys putting in the work and putting in the time.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and a big shout out to Pit Stop TV also for
Yeah.
like, showcasing what this league is and what we can do, and just how awesome it is to go back and watch these races again and really enjoy watching them again.
They're so much fun to go back and watch. It's so good. I sat there and watched that whole Chicagoland race. And it was just same with Eldora. Eldora was so good. The different things they did with the graphics and things like that. So, yeah, that's about all I got.
Yeah, real quick, Rev. The meatballs, were Patrick Hernandez, Isaiah Sutherland. Mine was Jason Bottoms and Richards.
Bada bean.
Bada bean. Yep. Those four drivers, if they want to receive their sticker, you do your magic. Rev was awesome in getting some stickers created for us, and he said he wants to mail them out to each driver that receives them each week. So big shout out to Rev for taking that on. I think that's an awesome.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Exactly.
Right?
And I hope everyone will wear them with pride, put them on their rigs, start collecting them. Brendan Maddox might own the whole freaking sticker book by the end of the season.
Hey,
His
he's
entire
actually said he
sim rig
doesn't
is
own
just
the-
meatballs.
Hey, he's actually said I don't think he has the most meatballs of the week here.
I mean,
Last season for sure.
we cop out and
Oh,
give
for
them to
sure.
ourselves a lot of the times. I feel like I really am going to start being like, if I get like a minor inconvenience with someone, or someone had a little issue and like mine was just a little stupid thing, I'm giving it to someone else. Like,
It's on them.
yeah,
No cautions like, oh, he bumped my bumper.
yeah, he
Going
raced
for
me
two.
hard.
Like,
The way you bumped
Okay.
after me at Talladega. What's
I
going on?
disliked that very much.
Exactly. It's going to be
he
the
passed me.
butt hurt of the week.
go.
Steven.
That's
But
going to be a way weirder
Oh.
sticker. For that.
man, but no, thank each of y'all for being on here. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Richard. We're gonna start having some special guests each week. It's gonna be different. I will be reaching out to some people individually, and we'll get a schedule actually created, so we have it weeks in advance, so you know when you're coming on the podcast, and people can be planned and ready to go. But do appreciate all of y'all giving your time this week. Adam, I know it's a once in every little bit for you. Carl and Richard, you're expected to be here, but I still thank you nonetheless. But again, thank you to our sponsors, Butt Kicker, Sundance Pizza, Sundance Trucks, Idealease. Thank you, Pit Stop TV, for all you've done so far, and we hope that we have continued relationship with y'all and keep building not only the Butt Kicker Cup series, but y'all's brand as well. I think we work really well together. And make sure to tune in to the Mountain Empire Animal Hospital 250 at Bristol Motor Speedway on Tuesday, August 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll catch y'all then.
You forgot to thank one more person.
Oh, Lord. My wife.
gotta
I
thank
love my
Red.
wife.
No. We got to thank Rev Sim Shop for our Rev Sim Shop for our Meatball of the Week stickers. That
Butt Pucker the Week.
The Butt Pucker of the Week award by the Rev Sim Shop. So
I think everybody would get one of those stickers.
Oh man.
Brown Pants moment of the race.
Yeah, no kidding.
But
Oh
no,
no, that should be the Dude Wipes moment of the race.
if we can get that to
that
work.
would be peak advertising if Dude Wipes sponsored like a Dude Wipes moment of the race.
I'm reaching out tomorrow morning.
Dude Wipes, if you're listening.
I'm going to use their name regardless of their permission. It's too good not to.
Oh,
But
I got some unopened packages. You know, I can just put them out here on broadcast.
Just Carl, just hold 'em.
But no, thank you all again. Thank you all for tuning in, watching each week. And we'll catch you all Tuesday. Oh, before we leave, Richard, our send-off. We didn't do it last week.
My wife would be upset if we didn't do it, even though she doesn't watch these.
So, Adam, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Not really, no.
And that's fine. You don't have to be involved because, unfortunately, only we have to be involved. So,
Okay, Adam.
I
The
enjoy
only thing you
embarrassing
need to say is "or you'll die"
At the
after
end.
we say our three things.
there you go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Carl, get us
I ask
started.
no questions.
All right, buckle it up.
Buckle it up,
Buckle it up.
or you'll die. All right. We'll catch y'all next week. Thank you again.